Hey class, and welcome to lesson 3 this week. I hope everything's going good so far. Lesson 2, you've got those resumes started. We're going to continue those. I mentioned that last week. I'll talk about that more in a second. But overall, we're starting to really get into the meat of the class. So kind of past those introductory first couple lessons. Now hopefully we're in full swing. The one thing I do want to talk about before we talk about this week's material, kind of again, just some, I don't know, class organization type stuff and some rules. One of those is attendance. I know the reason I talk about this is not for any one particular reason. It's just every semester this always comes up. I've told you before, I've taught Pathways now. This is my 5th year doing it without fail. Always every semester I get a couple of questions about attendance. Usually it's things like, Brother Dixon, I had a family vacation scheduled prior to, taking Pathways on this week and I'm going to miss gathering. What do I do? Or sometimes there's church activities that might fall on the gathering night and maybe you're in charge of it. And so you have to miss the gathering to go to the church activities. Or there's a special family event going on. And the reason I want to bring this up is because Pathways has been very strict, if you would, when teaching us instructors that we are to only excuse absences from the gathering if it's of 2 things. One, if the gathering gets canceled, which could happen for various reasons. Primarily, it seems to happen when there's bad weather in a region, and the missionaries decide to cancel it. So if it gets canceled, obviously that's excused. Or if you have some sort of immediate emergency, like you or your spouse or your kid, or you had to go to the hospital for some reason, some sort of emergency. If it's also a funeral that you need to go to, things like that, I can excuse the absence on that. But anything else, things like vacations and even things like church events, they've told us, do not excuse those absences. So just giving you that kind of heads up as the semester gets started. And the reason they do that is because they really want to push the importance of going to the gathering every single week. If you look back at the rubric, you'll notice that going to the gathering is actually worth 20% of your grade. And so it's a big chunk of your grade. You get those points just for going every week. So they really want to make sure people are going to the gathering, participating in the gathering and all of that. So just want to put that out there now so as the semester gets started. If you're going to miss a gathering and it's not one of those dire needs, then you can let me know still. I know every now and then people will still email me and say, hey, I'm going to be gone this week. That's great. But just know that I won't be able to excuse that unless it is an emergency or that it was canceled. A little math I did on it, just so you're kind of aware. Each gathering is worth 1.4% of your grade. So keep that in mind, because a lot of times I'll respond to people saying, no, I can't excuse it, but don't worry, it's only 1.4% of your grade. If you miss 1 or 2 because you needed to go do something, I'm not encouraging you to miss 1 or 2, but you had a prior engagement or something like that, it really isn't going to drop your grade a full letter or anything like that. Now it could though, if you're, say you're on the fence, say you're at a 91%, and then you miss 2 gatherings, that's going to drop you down to a B plus instead of that A minus. So keep that in mind. Each gathering is worth 1.4%. So definitely try and get to your gatherings. The second thing I wanted to talk about real quick is tutoring. So tutoring, I've mentioned it before, it is available for this course. You can get tutoring in writing and you can get tutoring in math, whichever you need help with. So I will leave a link below that it goes to a video that then kind of shows you how you could request some tutoring. So it's like a 3-minute long video, not as long as mine, sorry. So it's a short video and it kind of just walks you through the steps of how you request a tutor. So I would, if you don't need one right now, that's fine, but definitely try and remember this announcement. I mean, the announcements never go away, so it should always be there and that link will always be there, and that's how you can go request a tutor. Okay, let's jump into this week's material. It's not too much. It's actually almost going to probably kind of feel like last week. For the math portion, we're again reviewing the math from PC 101, but kind of the second half of PC 101. So you'll have a couple quizzes that you'll need to take. You're able to take those as many times as you'd like. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. It is the second half of PC 101, so it is going to get into a little bit more of that algebra that we were doing at the end of PC 101, which I know can always hang people up. If you're struggling with it, math's my forte, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me, or it's a good opportunity to use that tutoring center. I will say one thing that's nice about the tutoring center is they're available a whole lot more hours than I am. I don't know their exact hours off the top of my head, but pretty much from like 8 a.m. to probably like 9 p.m. Mountain Time, you can get a tutor in that region because they have a bunch of tutors that are willing to meet with you virtually. So definitely a lot more availability there than meeting with me. But if you just have a quick question, shoot me an email. I might be able to just respond and answer it in an email too. So that's what's coming at you with the math this week. With the writing, we are going to be working on finishing that resume. So last week you started that resume. I'm going to try and get that graded as quick as I can in the beginning of the week, so that way you can use some of that feedback before you have to submit it on Saturday, and then to make any changes. So, and that's really it for assignments. There is a section that I did want to kind of quickly talk about, that there's not really an assignment necessarily to go with it, but it's finding a better job. I thought this was interesting. I thought this was a really neat thing they put in there. You know, and really what it comes down to is, you know, why would you want to find a better job, right? Some people, you know, you're happy with your job, and that's great. Maybe you don't want to find a better job, but, you know, I would always encourage people, and kind of a philosophy I adopted when I first started working. I just mentally thought, you know what, even if I'm happy with my job, every year I'm gonna just see what's out there. You know, I want to make sure that I'm keeping relevant. What's, you know, what other employers are looking for. You never know. I mean, I hope no one has to experience this. I haven't yet, but companies do lay off. There is times where companies go through layoffs, and the company I used to work for, I know recently went through a round of layoffs, and I heard the aftermath, and there was a lot of really good people that got laid off that I would consider to be good workers. So sometimes, even though you're maybe a good worker, you just don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes companies shift visions, or they decide to consolidate departments, and it's not because you're doing a bad job you get laid off. It's just because, you know, they just can't have that many people in it anymore, and they just kind of had to choose someone. So for whatever reason, you know, it's always, in my mind, it's always important to kind of almost be looking for a better job, whether you're really trying or not. I've kind of tried to apply and even try and interview for a job at least once a year. I'm trying to think back through the years. I think I'm pretty close to that. It seems like almost about every year I usually have some sort of job interview. You know, just sometimes I'm actually interested, and then the offer comes in and it's not what I was hoping. There's also times where, you know, we kind of just realize, nah, we're not probably a really good fit for each other. So I really enjoyed kind of looking through what that finding a better job section is. I think it's interesting. One thing I really liked in it, you know, always try and at your current job, always be looking for ways to grow. Another thing I've kind of done in my career so far is I look at other people that I work with and I see what their job is. And if I find it interesting, then, you know, I kind of try and think, okay, what qualities do I need to have in order to, if I ever want to have that job someday, what would I need to do? And so just sometimes having that is kind of a motivation as well. I mean, maybe you're not trying to find a better job. Maybe you prepare yourself to have a career advancement within the job that you have. You know, you never know. That person might leave, and if you've prepared, maybe you're a good candidate to replace them. But anyways, I hope you enjoy that section. I liked reading through it and kind of seeing some of the material there. So anyways, with that, there's one of my little guys. With that, have a great week, and make sure you reach out if you have any questions. Bye.